Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Dave Sundstrom, and I have a little channel here on YouTube where I talk about music, movies, and TV, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. So here's another surprise live stream. Typically, I do live streams on Wednesday evenings, but I had a little spare time. And when I have spare time, when I'm not working on another video for the channel or have other things that I have to do, there's nothing I love more than getting on and just visiting with community members. Although I'm going to do something a little bit different today, but I do want to visit with each one of you. So I see that there's 3 people in the stream. That's great. I love it when there's a ton of people here, and I love it when there's a small number of people here because that gives me a chance to speak more directly to each of you. So first off, Kenneth, great to have you here. Thank you for joining me last Wednesday on the stream as well as this morning. So what we're going to do, I'm going to tee it up and then we'll wait for a few minutes until I have a few more people on the stream. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a gander at this magazine right here. We're going to look at the fall 1980 edition, the fall preview edition, I should say, of TV Guide. And we're going to go through page by page. We're not necessarily going to read any of the articles there, but definitely, I'd love to comment and talk a little bit about what I remember from this particular issue of TV Guide and that particular season of network television. But I'd also love to highlight your comments as well along the way. So please, if you post something in the chat, I'll do my very, very best, to put it on screen as well. So again, for those folks who are just joining, it's a surprise live stream, a Saturday surprise. And I am just tickled to be able to visit with you guys this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. So I would love to know where folks are. So if you want to pop into the chat and just tell me where you are and how the day's going, I'd love to have that kind of conversation with you as we prepare to take a look at the fall 1980 preview issue of TV Guide. 11 folks in the stream. Come on, folks, let's get a little bit of, I know it's a Saturday, and if you're like me, you've been working in the yard this morning and you're kind of tired and just wanted to pop onto YouTube and see what's happening. Butch, great to have you here. Super excited to have you pop in. I don't know if I've ever seen you on the live stream before, so great to have you with us. Spike Spikerson, always a treat to have you here as well. Hey, by the way, you'll notice that little emoji to the right of Spike's name. That means he's a super fan, a member of my channel. Truly appreciate that kind of support, Spike. My friend Justin, holy cow, yes, I was just talking to Justin through email the other day, and he mentioned he was going to be on vacation. He and I are going to be putting together a video. We're collaborating on a video where we're going to talk about the serious side of Three's Company. I know you're saying, what? Three's Company serious? Well, every episode was a comedy, but they did tackle from time to time serious subjects, and that is exactly what we're going to do. So, all right. Ken Wilkinson, I knew you were from the East Coast because you said good afternoon. Great to have you here. Scott Allen, also on the East Coast. Great to have you here. Tammy, welcome from Texas. Nice. Nikki, thank you for your kind words about my videos. It's, you know what? They are a labor of love. It's a hobby that I have it's blossomed for me, right? I've been able to talk about things that have always interested me, music, movies, and mostly TV. And people actually want to watch the videos and listen to me. So thank you for the kind words, Nikki. Truly appreciate it. And Butch, yeah, I was going to say this is the first time I've seen your name on the stream. Great to have you here. My good friend Christopher Kraft, I know exactly where you're from, my friend. Hopefully, getting ready for the big move is working out for you. And Josh, always a treat to have you with us, my friend. And I think we're caught up on the chat. So here's what we're going to do, and I'm going to get going here in just a second. We are going to take a look at this. I have the fall preview edition, the 1980 preview edition of the TV season, that special TV guide that came out every year. This one was the thick one, right? This thing was massive. And as a kid, I got to say, I loved this. This was maybe second only to the Sears and Montgomery Ward Christmas catalogs, the holiday catalogs, the wish books. I was so excited when they showed up at our local grocery store. So we're going to take a look at it. We're going to peruse the pages. We're not going to read any of the articles, but I'm going to comment on it. And any of the comments that you have, I'll post them. If you post it in the chat, then I'll post it on the screen so everyone can see it. So let's get rolling. Let me do this. Let me do this kind of screeny thing going on here. Make me small, make that big. Hopefully folks can see the screen well enough. So this was the fall. In 1980, I was a sophomore. Let's think. No, I was starting my junior year of high school. Yeah. So where were you? What were you doing? Go ahead and post that in the chat. I'd love to put it on the screen. But that's where I was. I was my junior year of high school. And things were starting to come together for me in high school. I joined the swim team, had this great group of friends, and really was enjoying high school at that point. I got to tell you, there were moments. There were moments in my junior high and high school career that weren't always the greatest. But I think we all have those moments. And it's what we do with them, right? What we learn from them. All right. Let's see what it says here. Justin says, I can't stand when I looked in TV Guide and the listing said paid programming. Yeah, that was typically later on in the evening, but me neither, Justin. The Josh Singh says, in case you're wondering who the lady is, beside me, that is my friend Morgan Leap. Well, I don't know if Morgan's watching the live stream with you, Josh, but hey, Morgan, good to have you here. Definitely a lovely lady. Hey, it's Georgia Ayers. Great to have you with us this fine Saturday morning/afternoon, depending on where you are. Let's see what we got. We got Southwest in the house, born in 81, South Africa. All right. We got all of the old shows. That's awesome. Good to hear that hopefully shows like Andy Griffith and the Brady Bunch and Star Trek and Batman and the A-Team and Gunsmoke, Leave It to Beaver, Three's Company, shows that I love to talk about. Hopefully they all made it your way as well. Southwest. What time is it in South Africa? I'd love to hear. Butch says 80-81 was my 8th grade do-over season. All right. We can from time to time use a do-over. I will tell you that. Texas Ray, welcome. Good to have you here. Working at my job at a welding supply company. Awesome. So you had passed through the phase of high school and was actually earning a living. Christopher Kraft, 2nd year of college. Patrick Fennell, good to have you here. Before computers, TV Guide was required reading for anyone who watched cable TV. I was 23 years old in 1980. Love your history lessons. Great Barrington, Massachusetts. Well, thanks for the kind words. And absolutely, that's the thing I think that we forget. Information is so readily accessible these days. You just type something into Google and you get a plethora of information that you have to sift through, figure out what's correct and what's not correct. But back then, holy cow, we relied on this magazine to tell us what was going to be on. And so we wouldn't miss a really great show or some important programming. Not paid programming, though. Brian says he was in 6th grade, got excited about the movies previewed in the fall preview issue. Yeah, I saw that section. I was leafing through it digitally. earlier and saw that part of it and remembered that as well, and remembered that excitement that I felt because we didn't have cable TV in 1980. It would be a year or so before we finally got it. And I got it because of MTV. But we didn't have any of the paid movie networks either for a long, long time. So basically, this was pre-VCR for us. Yeah, this was where I, got a preview as to what type of motion pictures and major motion pictures were coming to television. Marty Morgan, welcome. Thank you so much for the kind words. Have you learned a lot, or have I just kind of jostled a few memories? That's what I'm shooting for. I don't really consider myself a teacher in any way, but I do. Hopefully, I'm a, just kind of a pop culture historian, in particular, focusing on TV. Tammy says she was in 3rd grade. Okay, you're just a youngster, Tammy. Tammy in Texas. The Josh Singh says she's definitely a lovely lady, without a doubt. Marty McFly's in the house. Good to have you with us. Oh, I thought I clicked on it. There you are. Creative use of the emojis. Awesome work. Let's see. 18:10. So what does that make it? Okay, 12, 6-ish in the evening. Okay. I'm not used to the military time there. DJ Mexicano or Mexicano de Texas. Great to have you here. Hola, my friend. ¿Cómo estás? Espero que todo vaya bien para ti. Okay. The Josh Singh says, Dave Sundstrom, I was 5 and I don't think YouTube even existed back then. No, it did not. YouTube didn't exist until 2005. I remember it very, very well. I remember when YouTube was when it just showed up, when it knocked on my door, my digital door, and said, hey, Dave, I'm here. And it was the Wild West. YouTube didn't really police copyrights. It was crazy, the stuff that showed up. I saw some really disturbing things early on YouTube as well that I'm not going to go into here. But I did report them when I saw them. People uploaded everything. TV shows, movies, and all sorts of crazy stuff in between. Kenneth says, I graduated high school in 81. So you're a year older than me. I graduated in 82. Justin says, remember when every TBS show started? Yeah, I hated that. 05 or 35, they did that so you would watch TBS when the other stations went to commercial. It was clever programming, but I didn't like it. Marty Morgan says both. I can't remember what question I asked. James Tamburo says, cool, good to have you with us. James was 2 in 1980, so you were not leafing through the TV guide at that point. But nevertheless, hopefully you enjoy the walkthrough that we have here today. Georgia says, I'm born in 62. You're just a year or two older than me as well. And James is 43. Jim Y, welcome. Good to have you here. From Boston, one of my favorite towns, one of my favorite places to visit. James said, it's a living debut. Indeed, it did. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Also born in 62, Kenneth, and Magnum PI debuted as well. James, you know your television seasons without a doubt. And Jim was born in 66. Awesome. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go full screen here for a bit. And we are going to kind of take a peek and see what is going on with this magazine. So let's go ahead and flip the page. Oh, there you go. Look at that. A full page spread for the Marlboro Man. Those commercials were prevalent in TV Guide back in the day. And along with the warning, the Surgeon General has determined that cigarette smoking is dangerous to your health. But boy, oh boy, did they make it look enticing. Didn't they make it look enticing? Let's go ahead and flip the page. So we've got an ad for going to see your dentist. And we've also got an ad for Vivarin. Anyone remember Vivarin? Holy cow, I used Vivarin from time to time, particularly once I graduated from high school and was in college. I felt like that was the thing to do to keep me sharp, keep me alert, keep me awake. Nowadays, I just sip on my Diet Coke. Okay, commercial or an ad for Seagram 7 Crown. And look at this. Here we go. We got a Toyota ad and it says Space 1980. Obviously a riff on Space 1999. And I suppose they thought that dashboard looked a little futuristic, and maybe it did for the time, but as I look at it now, it certainly looks dated, as does the vehicle, the Toyota Corolla. I will say I did have a Toyota Corolla at one point, much later on in the 90s, and I really loved that vehicle. Great vehicle. So the very first thing you get in TV Guide during these fall preview editions is kind of like a big preface around the whole new season, a broad overview, and that's what this article is. Let's see what I got to go back here. Braidwood Inn, my friend Justin says, I got Vyvern confiscated from a teacher in high school who coincidentally drank coffee all the time. And I've got news for you. He took your Vyvern as well. Let's see. Tammy says, revive with Vyvern. Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me. They also sell something called No-Dose, if I remember. And I think that's still out there as well, which is also caffeine tablets. And James says, Mom and Dad use Vyvern. Well, all right. All right. Well, they are probably very alert and awake people then. All right, let's turn the page. Get over here. Changes. So changes to the TV season. So we'll see their full page previews to the new shows, but they don't cover the changes on, full page spreads. So this is kind of talks about the changes. And here we go. We've got Archie Bunker's Place. And I think James mentioned earlier that Edith died. Here you go. It says, Archie Bunker's Place comes back with Archie mourning Edith's death, slowly easing himself out of his saloon and beginning to go out on dates. You know what? I will be truthful. I didn't watch a ton of Archie Bunker's Place, but, it had a good long run after All in the Family ended. Feuding also is the basic theme of Sanford. This is after it was, no longer Sanford and Son, but just Sanford. But Aunt Esther was still on the show, as it points out. And it says Laverne and Shirley, meanwhile, head for warmer climes. Or warmer climate, I think. I did not love it when it jumped a couple years and moved to Hollywood. Did not love that show. It says other series changing their venues. Sheriff Lobo is transferred to Atlanta. Buck Rogers leaves New Chicago to hunt for other humans in outer space. In addition to last year's sidekicks, Buck is joined by the venerable Dr. Goodfellow, Crichton, and Hawk. I have talked at length in a couple of different videos about what they did to Buck Rogers. Holy cow, I know I say holy cow a lot, but they just ruined that show. All right, I'm going to get a couple more comments here. Let's see. Josh Singh says graduated in 97. Yeah, I could kind of tell from your picture there that you're a young buck. Marco Falzone said, good morning, Dave. Absolutely love TV Guide fall preview issues. Me too. Like I said, second only to those Christmas holiday wish book catalogs that came out from Sears, JCPenney, and Montgomery Ward. This was it. This was a big, big day when this magazine showed up at the grocery store. Let's see. I'm not quite sure what the August is here. Josh, I might have missed a comment. And James says, didn't like Sanford. Well, it wasn't as much fun without the sun, without a doubt. Wasn't as much fun without the sun. All right, so let's keep moving along. I'm going to have to go over here. There's a lot of different changes. You can see BJ and the Bear has had some changes, One Day at a Time. Tanya Roberts becomes the newest Charlie's Angel. Mork and Mindy. There's some changes to Mork, and it says Happy Days starts its new season without its central figure, Richie Cunningham, and James just pointed that out. All right, moving along, we've got another cigarette commercial. Like I said, they were prevalent back in the day. And then we've got some updates for what's happening on daytime. And, initially they talk a little bit about soap operas, but mostly they talk about what's going on Saturday morning TV. So there's mention of the new animated Happy Days here, Fonz and the Happy Days gang. as well as over on CBS, there's the Tarzan Lone Ranger Adventure Hour. I remember that, enjoyed that quite a bit. Back then in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, basically after a show, cartoon had its initial run, they would combine it with another show. So like Tarzan and Lone Ranger initially were their own shows, but then they package it together as an adventure hour. And you can see here, they also talk about that over on NBC, the Godzilla Dynamite Hour. Not a really likely pairing, but for whatever reason, they thought that was going to work. The special section went through like the special made for TV events that we would see throughout the year. Some examples here, they talk about Shogun. We're going to see some ads for that later on. Valley of the Dolls, which I remember running on CBS. East of Eden, which I remember running. These were miniseries running on ABC, and it had Jane Seymour in it. Holy cow, it's so beautiful. What else are they talking about here? Let's keep moving. So I ended up working in Kmart in the early 80s, but I wasn't at Kmart at this point, but I would have loved to have had that particular stereo. I had one. I got one in the late 70s, but I was kind of rough on it, and right about 1980, I could have used a new one like that. That looks really great. And look at that. It has a cassette deck. It has an 8-track. It has everything. What more could you want? A decent price. Electronics were a lot more expensive back in the late 70s and early 80s than they are now. Let's see. James says, I love the Happy Days cartoons and Super Friends. The Super Friends is one of my all-time favorite cartoons. All iterations of Super Friends is just great. Butch says 1980 was the second Lone Ranger animated series. Yeah, there was one early on in the late 60s, if I remember right. Justin says Kmart in the 80s was amazing. It totally was. It was the place to shop until Walmart infiltrated everywhere, all corners of our, where we live. Marco Falzoni said 1980 was a huge pop culture year. Absolutely. And James says, I miss Kmart. I do too. I actually, we don't have any in the area anymore. And I don't know if any exist anymore. But it was definitely sad for me when they tore down the Kmart that I worked at in high school and beyond. I worked 8 years at Kmart, and at one point even considered having that be my career. I was the assistant manager of the Woods Cross, Utah Kmart, one of 3 assistant managers, and spent an awful lot of time there in the early 80s. And I'm glad I didn't make that my career. I'll say that right now, because I would be no longer employed. They went through a ton of downsizing, and ultimately most of them are gone. All right, let's keep moving the page here and see what we've got more from our friends at TV Guide. I've lost my mouse cursor, but there we go. So more on the mini-series. That's right. It looks like there was a mini-series, a 3-hour portrait of John Wayne called The Duke. That would have been cool. We're going to skip this page here just because I don't see anything super exciting. I'm sure if I read the articles in their entirety, there would be something good there. But look at that. Pivoting heads on shavers were just kind of the thing starting there. Now the movie. Someone earlier mentioned that they really looked forward to TV Guide to learn about what movies were coming up. Looking at this, it looks to me like there was probably a 2 to 3 year window between when something premiered on your motion picture screen to the point where it got to your television screen. And so here's the movies that are going to be during 1980, 1981 TV season show up. We've got Julia, All the President's Men, The Eyes of Laura Mars, Magic, Meatballs. I love Meatballs. Meatballs was a great movie. Bill Murray's so funny in that. Let's see what else we've got. We've got Susan Anton's Golden Girl. Now, that was in 79, so boy, it didn't take long for that one to make it to TV. And then Piranha, which was a fun movie. Joe Dante, I believe, was the director of that. Heather Menzies was in it. That was 1978, little scare fest. And we've got the 7% Solution. Great movie. Loved it. The Slipper and the Rose, another version of Cinderella, which I enjoyed as well. Lots of good movies showing up this Foul Play made its debut in 1980. Fast Break with Gabe Kaplan. That one was also a 79 movie, so it didn't take long for it to make it to network TV. It's the same with the Amityville Horror, which I thought was a very scary book and movie. And The Champ with Ricky Schroeder, John Voight and Faye Dunaway, young Ricky Schroeder, pre-Silver Spoons. And then we've got a Diet-Tac. I don't remember Diet-Tac commercial. We'll pause here and let me take a look at the comments. Josh says that my grandfather died in 1980. My grandparents died fairly early as well. And so I can definitely feel for you there. Nikki, I've got to highlight this. Our Kmart did as well early on. They took it out eventually. There was a deli, and then they even took that out. But I loved eating at the Kmart cafeteria. I thought the food was great there. Let me quickly pop over here to David Zintara. Wow. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the support. Let's see what we got here. It says there are currently no Kmart locations in Utah. Yeah, I didn't think there were. One of the last ones I remember was out north of me here in like Clearfield area, but it's gone too. Only 40 locations left in the U.S. How the mighty have fallen, David. How the mighty have fallen. In 1980, Kmart was the place to shop. Again, thank you for the super chat. Truly appreciate the support. Let me see what else we got here. We have some talk about Hulkamania. Or wait, no, I got moved on me. There we go. No Hulkamania in 80. No. I remember that, but that was later on. Yeah. Georgia says loved and preferred live action Lone Ranger, as did I. Linda McMahon, as in the wrestling McMahon family, I'm guessing here. No Saved by the Bell in 1980, correct. It would be later on in the late 80s when it would be Good Morning Miss Bliss to start, if I remember right. I met Marie Osmond one time. I'm a big fan of Marie, as I am the entire Osmonds, being from Utah. So Marie's ex served an LDS, a Mormon mission, in the same mission that I served when I went on my mission in the mid-80s. And so we had one of these, what they call a reunion, where all these missionaries get together and reconnect and share the old times. And that's where I met Marie. Years and decades ago. But she's a lovely lady. Very tiny, tinier than she seems like on TV. Josh says he met the Osmonds. Awesome. No Power Rangers. Absolutely not. Let's see. Justin says there's a Kmart still open in MT. Where's MT? I mean, are we talking Montana there? Is that what that is? There was a Kmart in Wayne. It closed in November of 2019. Yeah, darn it all. Darn it all. Yeah, I like Silver Spoons as well, mostly because of Aaron Gray. I really like Aaron Gray. Yes, sir. Live streaming on a Saturday morning. I had a little spare time. So here's what we're doing for those that have arrived late. We're kind of just working our way through the fall preview edition, the 1980 preview edition of TV Guide. I bought my VIC-20, my Commodore 64, and my TI-99 4A at Kmart. When I eventually bought a Commodore Amiga later on, they weren't selling computers at that time. The Lone Ranger was the coolest character on TV. I will not argue with that, although I'm a big Batman fan and Superman as well. Yeah, no Steve Urkel. Let's see what else we've got. Benny Hill. Where's the comment of Benny Hill I want to get to here? Yeah, he was. That Benny Hill show, I mean, when you were a kid, at least that show was playing late at night on one of our UHF stations. And there was that, as kids, we talked about, hey, Benny Hill, what's going on with Benny Hill? Do they actually show that kind of stuff on Benny Hill late at night? And so there was this sense that you might catch a glimpse of something that you don't normally catch a glimpse of on TV. And as a kid, particularly as a young teenage boy, that was enticing, and his humor was really good too. Benny Hill's a funny guy. Yeah, I remember Fast Break. It was his attempt, and it did not end up flourishing into a lengthy career. And I'm not sure exactly why that is, why Gabe Kaplan's career kind of came to a screeching halt after Welcome Back, Kotter. Let's keep moving for just a moment, and then we'll get back to the comments. But we got to get through here. Dietac. Yeah, I like this. It says, with the help of Dietac, you can develop better eating habits, like eating lighter, eating smarter. If only I could figure that out. Here I am in my mid-50s, mid to late 50s, and I'm still trying to figure that one out. All right. Norma Ray, Sally Field, great movie. People like her. Yeah, they really, really like her. She won an Academy Award for that role. Not my favorite movie. I'll be truthful. Let's see. This is a Sears ad. Yeah, Kenmore Appliances. They were top notch. And then we've got another cigarette ad. Again, ignore the happy, good-looking people here because the Surgeon General has determined that it is dangerous to your health, and maybe we shouldn't be doing it. All right. Breaking Away on Saturdays. ABC, if I remember correctly. Let me check here. Yes. Starring, wouldn't you know it, Joe Hardy. Joe Hardy himself, Sean Cassidy. I loved Breaking Away. Breaking Away was a great show, and it didn't last long, but it was actually a very decent adaptation of the movie, which I also enjoyed quite a bit. So we'll stop there. Let's keep moving. We got lots of things to talk about. Hill Street Blues. Oh my goodness. What a great show Hill Street Blues was. I did a video on Veronica Hamill and nobody watched it. How dare you people? How dare you people not watch my Veronica Hamill video? But I did like Hill Street Blues, particularly the first few seasons. I thought the cast was really great and it was a good show. Oh, let's go back and look at that floor. Oh my goodness. That was tile that only looked good in the late 70s, early 80s, regardless of how clean and shiny you kept it. Moving on, the secrets, plural there, of Midland Heights. I don't remember this show at all. Do any of you remember this show? I do not remember this show at all. Although I do recognize Lorenzo Lamas and Linda Hamilton. Who else is in this cast? Let me look here. No, I don't recognize anybody else, although they all look very, very hip and cool. Good gravy, yeah. Let's say it seems like it was an evening soap opera in the, along the vein of Dallas, but different setting. California, maybe? Not sure. All right, let's see what we got. Let's get some comments here about this. Yeah, Raja 1938 says, I see a young Linda Hamilton. Texas Ray says, I miss the old TV guide, especially the fall preview edition. Me too. And let's be clear, while there is a TV guide out there, it doesn't come out weekly anymore and it's oversized. It's not the same. Yeah, it must have gotten canceled very quickly. There were shows that seriously, 2 or 3 episodes in would get canceled by the network. That happens today as well, which is a shame. Shows should be given more time to establish themselves. Yeah, that wasn't, you're saying that, yeah, looks like a 90210, but it's not. Son of a Red Shirt, welcome to the live stream. Dave Sunstrom and everybody else, good afternoon. All we're talking about great television of 1980, and so far not one single mention of the sci-fi juggernaut Galactica 1980. Oh dear. I've talked at length in a couple of videos about that show. Some folks like to think of it as the second season of Battlestar Galactica. I prefer not to. Who does this button, or what does this button do? Mash still on to make people hate America. I don't think that people really hated America because of it. I never felt that way. I get that vibe now that people think that MASH is really liberal and trying to kind of push a political agenda. And that might be because of all of the stuff that Alan Alda's done over the years since MASH. But I still enjoy MASH. I still think it's a great show. I think my values, my politics, we don't talk a lot about them, but they're all over the place. Uh, so I don't lean left or right. I'm probably somewhere in between. And maybe that's why MASH is something that I still enjoy. I don't know. Let's see. Butch says that this show ran 8 episodes and 2 went unaired. That makes sense. Makes sense. Let's see. Doc, but I don't think we have a preview for Glycogen 1980. I think that was a winter or January type debut for that show. It might have even been before this issue came out, thinking about when it debuted. I've got to think about the dates there. But I will say that last episode, The Return of Starbuck, I liked quite a bit. When's Buck Rogers on? Yeah, Buck Rogers this was the second season for Buck Rogers. It's the season where you had Hawk. He was out on the Searcher. It wasn't as good. All right, we're going to stop here with the chat and keep moving. Moving on. Freebie and the Bean. Now, was Freebie and the Bean a movie or something? Because it sounds familiar, but I really don't remember this show at all. Although I recognize Hector Elizondo there. Yeah, I like Hector Elizondo. Great actor. Really made a name for himself in a bunch of Gary Marshall movies. I don't recognize Tom Mason. Should I recognize Tom Mason? Should I know who this cat is? I don't know. Anyway, let's keep moving. The more you wash, the more you need a Whirlpool washer. We have a Whirlpool washer. It's been okay. All right, HBO. Yeah, we didn't have cable for another year, and then we didn't have any of the premium channels like HBO, but I would have loved to have had HBO and watched shows like 10. That's another one of those things. As a teenage boy, I wanted to watch 10. And when I did eventually watch 10 years later, I felt like there was a lot of to do about nothing in terms of, really wasn't all that scandalous. Hey, Danny Staten's in the house. Good to have you here, Danny. Good to have you here. All right. On Sundays on ABC. Now, there's a show called Real People, I think, was one of the first ones. And that's incredible on ABC. Real People was on NBC. There were all of these shows where you had people. They were entertainment news variety kind of shows. It was a real interesting mix. And in the late 70s, early 80s, we had a bunch of those shows. And this was one of those. Great cast there. Look at that. You've got Jim Stafford, Burgess Meredith, the Penguin himself, and Priscilla Presley. Always lovely. Yeah, top-loading washers are a bit of a pain. That's what we have. We've never had one of those front-loading. I would like one of these days. Would like one a lot. Let's see what Doc Savage says. Freebie and the Bean was definitely a movie. It starred James Caan. Yeah, I haven't seen that movie, but I would definitely like to. If it's got James Caan in it, I should see that movie. That's all I'm going to say about that. Let's see. Yeah, we're talking about Real People here. Sarah Purcell and company. Hey, Lisa Fields here. Good to have you with us this afternoon, Lisa, or morning, depending on where you are. Mike Vivian's in the house as well. All right. Let's see. James Tamburo says, thumbs down to season 2 of Buck Rogers. I feel that way as well. I loved the first season of Buck Rogers. It was so much fun. Lance Chafin says, hey, good to see you, Lance. Hopefully you're doing well today. Real People with Byron Allen. Yeah, he was also, there was like a bunch of Skip Henderson. You remember Skip Henderson? He was on that show too. Texas Ray says, Freebie and the Bean was a good movie. Okay, I think I know what I'm going to watch tonight. You folks have talked me into it. It's Freebie and the Bean for David Sundstrom this evening when I'm watching old movies that I've never watched. One of my favorite things to do, watch old movies that I have never watched. Hey, I'm going to pop out of the TV guide for just a moment and say hi, show my face, and just welcome everybody that has popped into the live stream. It's a surprise live stream. I thought, what the heck? Why not? I've got a little extra time. I got up early. I've got an electric lawnmower. So not one with a cord. It's cordless. It's got a battery. It's a Greenworks lawnmower. And I bought it this season. And I've got to tell you, with the extreme heat that we're having, today will be 102, 103 degrees, or over 100 here in Salt Lake City area. It is great to be able to get up at 7:30 when it's still a little bit cool and just mow the lawn and get it done. And those lawn mowers, those electric mowers, the battery mowers are so quiet. Anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Not talking about music, movies, or TV there, but I got to tell you, I love my cordless mower. It's incredible. All right, so let's keep moving. Let me go back off screen and let's go to the next page and see what's in store for us. Another cigarette ad. Again, let me remind everybody that the Surgeon General has determined that cigarette smoking is dangerous to your health, even with a third less tar. Even with a third less tar. Now, regarding the show on the left there, I don't think I recognize anybody in that cast, nor do I remember that show. I'd be interested in knowing if anybody recognizes anyone there. Hey, Rick, thanks for the kind words. I'm glad you find the videos and maybe even live streams like this entertaining, because I certainly love connecting with folks that, have the same memories and enjoy walking down nostalgia lane with me. Raja says, was there anyone hotter than Priscilla Presley back in the day? Boy, she was beautiful. I will give you that. Yeah, Doc Savage says a third less tar. Well, that still tells me that it has 2/3 of the tar that you would normally get in a cigarette, and probably not good. Aaron Gray was awesome. Aaron Gray is awesome. Danny, you know what? One of my favorite comedians and actors of all time, George Burns, smoked a cigar to the end of his days. Now, I'm told it's not healthy, and I'm told it's not good for you, but I also know that he lived to 100 years, so... Well, yeah, everybody needs to make up their own mind about that stuff. Enjoy your cigar. All right, so does anybody remember his Ladies Man? Because I sure don't, and I think we should just keep moving because it was a very short-lived series on CBS. I think CBS was really struggling this time, although there were some good shows on CBS. The Hulk, Wonder Woman, that Friday night lineup, Dallas. You had, what else did you have? Oh, Dukes of Hazzard. Anison. I don't take Anison. I'm a Tylenol guy when I have pain, but let's keep moving. And now we're into the black and white section of the TV guide. This is where the listings will be. So there's lots of news here, important things for me to be aware of throughout the week. And you have the letters section. Let me see if there's anything cool that we can talk about in the letters section. Let's see. Oh, wow. Okay, there was an article apparently in a prior issue called The Incredible Hunks. And this letter from Pamela says, I want to thank you for the very luscious cover photo and article on the Incredible Hunks. Women, some of us at least, enjoy looking at well-built, attractive men and prefer a Tom Wopat or Eric Estrada to a Charlie's Angels any day of the week. Well, that's awesome. Great. Let's see. It says, here's another one. We'll read this because she talks about Gil Gerard. Writing an article about beefcake on TV without mentioning Gil Gerard is like writing a travel guide to Paris without mentioning the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, you can't not mention Gil Gerard or Robert Urich. Look at that. They left out Robert Urich as well. And let's see. Let me quickly. Yeah, Larry, welcome. Good to have you here. It's a surprise live stream. Had a little extra time. Thought I'd come on and visit with you guys. And we're just wandering through the 1980 fall preview issue of TV Guide, slowly making our way through it. All right. And I do mean slowly, so we probably ought to pick up the pace here. We probably won't spend as much time on the black and white sections. Let's move. Let's see. You can make anything on a workmate, even money. Oh, so there you go. Buy Black & Decker tools and make... Oh, this was a rebate. They're not saying you can use it as a handyman to make money, which you probably could, but I get it. Rebates were big back in the 80s. I don't like rebates. I think I probably only got 50. If I went through the process of submitting the rebate form and all that stuff, I didn't always get my money back. Let's see. So here we got the pay TV guide. So like important movies and events on your HBOs and Showtimes. I don't know if Showtime was around, but HBO throughout the week. And then here we go. We've got this week's TV programs. And this is Saturday morning. It always started with Saturday morning, would end on a Friday. And since this is for the Buffalo metropolitan area in New York, they have quite a few channels, way more than I had out here in Salt Lake City, Utah. At this time in Salt Lake City, Utah, we had 3 network channels of the major networks. Fox wasn't around at this point. And then we had 1 UHF station, and then we had 2 PBS stations. That was it. So a total of 6 channels. And the 2 PBS stations, they basically played the same stuff. So that didn't count, right? That doesn't count. Anyway, let's keep moving. The Saturday mornings. What was playing on Saturday mornings? Davy and Goliath, Tom and Jerry. Davy and Goliath, that's an old show. That was just reruns. Let's see. Did we miss all the good stuff? Let's go back. Let's see. Where are Super Friends? There we go. 8 a.m. Yeah, that would have been 6 a.m. my time. Okay. Let me quickly. Oops. Good to have you here. Now I need to pop that off so we can see the whole screen. Sorry there. Super Friends. What else do we have? Josie and the Pussycats. That was probably reruns. Oh, Godzilla, Globetrotters, Mighty Mouse, Heckle and Jekyll. Okay, those were shows that were new. Scooby-Doo was playing at the time. Scooby and Scrappy-Doo. The Jetsons. That had to be reruns as well. Drak Pack. That's a new one. Scooby's Laugh Olympics. I'm not sure if that was reruns or new programming. Fat Albert. Noon. Says the 10th season begins with a tale about a girl who learned she was adopted. That show was great. Say what you want about Bill Cosby, right? I certainly don't condone some of the things that he has been accused of and spent time in jail because of. But that show was a great show, and I actually learned a lot from watching that show. Raja 1938 says, all seasons of Super Friends are on HBO Max now. Yes, I noticed that. I noticed that the other day, and I'm going to be spending some time going back and revisiting some of those favorite episodes. James Mitchell, who, by the way, welcome, James. Good to have you here. Another channel member, and you can become a channel member by clicking on the join button under any of my videos, says, Super Friends was 7 a.m. where I live. It was 6 a.m. out here in the Salt Lake City area, and I never missed it. Pissed my mom off that I would jump up on a Saturday when she had to drag me out on a school day. Hey, you know what? I think I got the same darn comments from my parents. And I would ask my dad if I could borrow his alarm clock so that I could get up by 6 a.m. to watch Super Friends. And he would he didn't want to lend it to let me borrow it, because then he'd have to unplug it and he'd have to reset his time, all that stuff. It was apparently very painful for him to lend me his little alarm clock, but I would beg and plead and usually would get my way on that. Let's turn the page. Let's just keep moving. Let's see if we can see some ads here. Ads for shows. Okay, so in the next TV guide, by the way, there was a comment about Priscilla Presley earlier being a very beautiful lady. Indeed, she is. Looks like it says in the next issue of TV Guide, Priscilla Presley talks about life after Elvis and her struggle to establish a career of her own. I think she eventually, and now she obviously benefited greatly from having been married to Elvis and having that last name, but she did get that career of her own that she wanted. Let's see. Weight Watchers, encouraging words, $4 off. Yeah. Okay. I remember these ads. Take your fantasies further than they've ever been before with silhouette romances. Yeah. Okay. Those book clubs were interesting. I took advantage of the science fiction book club at the time. I got 4 books for basically nothing, but then I was on the hook to buy like 3 books over the course of the next couple of years. And then they would send you these cards. And if you didn't send the card back, then they would send you the book. That was how they really got you, is because it was hard to remember to send the book back or the card back. Okay, we're moving along. Looking for ads. Kids Are People Too. Does anybody remember that show? I do. Michael Young was the host. Look at the guests that were on that particular episode. Wow. Yeah, Jodie Foster, who had starred in Foxes and Carney. Haven't seen either of those two shows. And then Matt Dillon, star of My Bodyguard. I love My Bodyguard. My brother Steve has done a video on My Bodyguard. Great, great show. Matt Dillon was really, really good as kind of the bad guy in that particular low budget independent movie. All right. Let's see. Skip Rock says Priscilla Presley was in the best movie of all time. Yes, that movie is The Naked Gun from the Police Files. Yeah, based on a TV show. Loved Police Files. Let's see. What does this button do? Says in 1980, the skeleton fight from Jason and the Argonauts was most requested clip on a kid show here in the UK. I loved Jason and the Argonauts. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And Ray Harryhausen, a genius, right? Ray Harryhausen is a genius. Gia, welcome to the live stream, says, I fondly remember Kids Are People Too. Yeah, great show. Great show. It apparently was on, I remember it being on Saturdays, but it looks like it was on Sundays, at least at this time in 1980. Raja 1938 says, I remember Kids Are People Too. Had guests like Henry Winkler and Christopher Reeve. Awesome. Awesome stuff. Larry Potter says, love science fiction as well. Starlog, my favorite as a kid. You know, I seriously thought about actually doing this walkthrough with a Starlog magazine, but TV Guide appeals more broadly, so that's where we went. All right, David Susskind, I can tell you right now that didn't have any appeal for me, particularly as a teenage boy. PBS as a teenage boy didn't have much appeal to me. Let's see what we've got here. Let's keep moving. The Ambassador catalog. I love those old catalogs with just like all sorts of crap in it. Oh, let's go back here. The close-up. I liked reading the close-ups, and this one's apparently about baseball and science fiction meet in an animated fantasy called Take Me Up to the Ball Game. And I like what they've got there right above all that. It says The Earth Strikes Back, which reminds me that this is post The Empire Strikes Back. That movie came out in May of 1980, so we're 3 months past that, and obviously there's going to be lots of references to Star Wars in all of those movies as time goes on. Let's see. Those Amazing Animals makes its big debut. See the fantastic new hit that all America is talking about. Yeah. I'm just going to move through here. Let's see. And then there's the belt that you wear to make yourself look skinnier. The Trim Touch slims you instantly. Those things, I will confess to having worn one of those one point, hoping that it would trim me a little bit. And those are things that are just painful. Don't buy them. Do not buy those. Okay. Let's see, another ad for HBO. Shows that were on Sunday evening included Chips and Archie Bunker's Place, and there's a ABC special presentation of The Women's Room, starring Lee Remick, Colleen Dewhurst, Patty Duke Aston, and Ted Danson. Now later on, I noticed there's another Ted Danson movie that I've got to ask you guys about. I've got to ask you about this Ted Danson movie. We'll get to it in just a few minutes. Look at this knife. That truly is the most luxurious folding hunting knife, and I've got to have one for only $6.99. And wait, I can order two for $12.99 and just $2 shipping and handling. Count me in. All right, every 60 seconds, another American is diagnosed diabetic. Yeah, and that's only gotten worse since 1980, unfortunately. Let's see, what other shows were on Sunday nights? Alice, The Jeffersons, Trapper John M.D. Oh, yeah, I remember that show. Really didn't have much of a Mashville going for it, but great show. Let's see. Look at this. We were talking about Benny Hill a little earlier. At midnight, there was After Benny, Thames Presents. I'm probably saying that wrong. Skits, sketches, songs, and gags by a cast of British comedians, but not Benny Hill. Okay. Let's keep moving. Joan Van Ark lands in the co-host seat of the John Davidson Show. I actually really liked the John Davidson Show. I watched that all the time during the summer, specifically because it was a daytime talk show. But he was a good host, and he wasn't a bad singer. I remember that. PM Magazine, I would watch that quite a bit too. Little evening show, news format show, entertainment. They'd cover a variety of different topics, but quite often it would be movies and entertainment, that type of thing. And oh yes, Shogun. Richard Chamberlain in the James Clavell, the miniseries based on James Clavell's classic. It says from the best-selling novel Years in the Making, the most awaited motion picture of the year is not coming to a theater near you. So I remember wanting to watch this and not being able to because of the word right below that picture of Chamberlain and the woman there, Mariko, Blackthorne and Mariko. Anyway, that's because it says parental discretion advised. My parents really took that to heart. And what they thought it meant was not that you should talk to your kids about the show and help them kind of understand. They thought it meant your kids shouldn't be watching this show. So anyway, I watched it later on. Great miniseries. But I remember watching this. I remember watching Foul Play when it debuted on network television. No parental discretion advised, but it probably had just as much kind of adult stuff in it. A very funny movie, though. A play on Hitchcock movies starring Chevy Chase and Goldie Hawn. And, of course, later on they would reunite in another great movie called Seems Like Old Times. We've already talked about That's Incredible a little bit. Another one of those news format entertainment shows. Now, the listing's right above it there. Let's see. It says, in the second season opener, motorcycle daredevil Gary Wells attempts to complete Evel Knievel's ill-fated jump over the fountains at Caesar's Palace. That would have been worth watching. Hey, I see Todd McCreary in the house. Yeah, great to have you here, Todd. Skip Rock Jr.'s here as well. Oh, see you, Josh. Have a good one. Let's see. James Tamburo's here. That's awesome. A bunch of hooey. Yeah, I love that username. That's a good one. Anyway, Foul Play is a great movie. Oh, it even got a close-up. Look at that. A comic thriller in the Hitchcock style. Setting is San Francisco, where a librarian named Gloria Mundy is trying to pick up the pieces after a divorce. Remember, it starts out with that Barry Manilow song? Anyway, let's keep moving. Wait. Miles Holmes. Have you been priced out of today's housing market? I know people these days, young adults these days, feel like they've truly been priced out of the housing market. How to burn off body fat hour by hour. You know what? When I was in 1980, I didn't really have to worry too much about body fat. And so I wouldn't have read it then. And I won't read it now just because look at this advertisement. There's no way. There's no way I'm going to devote 3 hours of my day to read all that tiny print. Oh my goodness. Superplex is here in the house. Superplex says if you wanted to see a parental discretion advised TV movie, you should check out The Sex Symbol with Connie Stevens. I like Connie Stevens, and I haven't seen that, so maybe I better. I wonder if it's here on YouTube. I'll check that after the live stream today. By the way, Superplex is also a channel member, and that's a little different than a subscriber. And you can do that by clicking on the join button that's below below the videos, right there by the subscribe button. But thank you for your support, Superplex. Truly appreciated. Boomers are the worst people ever, says Skip Rock Jr. I am the tail end of boomers. Someone is asking, a bunch of hooey is asking how old I am. I was born in 64. So I think that's the last year that you can count yourself as a boomer. I don't recall Michael J. Fox ever doing a McDonald's commercial. You'll have to tell us more about that, James Tamburo. And yeah, thanks again, Superplex. Truly appreciate it. All right, let's keep moving. Got to keep moving. Let's see. Look at that. Mandated by Congress to honor a great American. Now you can wear it with pride. The official U.S. Mint John Wayne commemorative medal. Only $9.98. I actually wish I had one of these. I really do. So the belt wasn't commissioned by Congress, but the medal, I think, is maybe something that they gave him. I'm not sure. This is all advertising, but it does look kind of cool. I'm a big fan of Duke. All right, can't be turned down for life insurance. Good to know. Let's keep moving. We got to do it. Oh my goodness, that looks as painful as that girdle thing that you had to wear to lose weight. More Shogun. Yeah, was it like 3 nights? I think it was like 3 nights. Family Feud was a great show. I enjoyed that. Good old Richard Dawson. He was really a great game show host. And look at this. I thought the Dukes was on Friday, but it looks like they made a move here, at least to kick off the fall season. A big 2-hour movie called The Carnival of Thrills, starring the Dukes of Hazzard. ESPN. I think at this point I probably knew what ESPN was, but I don't think I'd ever watched ESPN because, again, my folks didn't have cable. Look at that. Charlie Daniels had a new album out. They were riding high from their hit The Devil, and The Devil Goes Down to Georgia. And I do remember that song, In America, but I don't remember the single The Legend of Woolly Swamp. So I've never heard that album in its entirety. Oh, good gravy, Linda Carter. I loved her TV specials. I think she was just, well, first off, she's Wonder Woman, right? So, but just a very beautiful lady with a ton of talent, a great voice, and her variety specials were really fun to watch and well thought out. Looks like this might be the one where she did the whole medley of rock songs, including some Kiss stuff, which I really liked. Let's see. Let's keep moving because we're only on Tuesday. We've got Wednesday. We're going to just fly through this stuff here. Dolly and Carol in Nashville. That would have been a fun special to watch. I did not watch that, but that seems like a great pairing. Taking a swig of Diet Coke here, folks. Keep moving. We've got Celebrity Family Feud. More help getting into a home. Rodeo Girl. I remember this TV movie. Yeah, that was a great TV movie. Had Catherine Ross, Bo Hopkins, and Candy Clark. At 26, Sammy Garrett wants to be a rodeo champion before she's a mother. To do it, she may lose the baby she's carrying and the man she loves. I'd have to go back and watch that again to really know if it's something worth recommending. I watched the other day Thin Ice starring Kate Jackson, which was a show I'd watched. I think it roughly came out in the early 80s as well, maybe 80, 81. And Kate Jackson, CBS TV movie where she's a teacher that falls in love with one of her high school students. I thought it was great. When I watched it originally. Not so much when I watch it now. Superplex. Before Late Night with David Letterman, there was Tomorrow with Tom Snyder. I actually enjoyed Tomorrow with Tom Snyder. Very, very different than Letterman, no doubt about it. But I enjoyed it. He brought on some really interesting guests. I still remember when he brought on Kiss, and that was a really fun conversation. Let's see, Charles Bronson, Death Wish, the CBS late night movies. But they didn't have for the longest time a talk show later in the evening, and so they would show movies instead. Let's see what we got here. Doc Savage says Linda Carter briefly appeared as Wonder Woman in her first TV special. The network insisted they were afraid nobody would recognize her. I remember that too. Let's see. Okay, yeah, Wonder Woman had gotten canceled. It made it into 1980, but yeah, it was canceled by the time the fall season rolled around. Good point, James. All right, let's keep moving. These magazines, boy, the fall preview edition, like I said, it was thick. There was a lot to work through. Look at this. You can save time and save gas by ordering your vacuum bags by mail. I don't think many people probably did that. Games people played. Does anybody remember that TV show? I vaguely recall it. Again, it's like That's Incredible and Real People, that type of thing. And then I do remember CBS from time to time. I think mostly CBS would have these Looney Tunes specials on, which was just a rehash of a bunch of old Looney Tunes cartoons. Denver Pyle apparently was the special guest / host for this particular one. A piece of the action with Cosby, Poitier, and James Earl Jones. First time on network TV. Shogun Part 3. Moving along. Oh, black and white cigarette commercial. Best filters. Anything on Friday that we should? Oh, there was a fourth part to the Shogun miniseries here on Friday. PM Magazine had Larry Wilcox on it. Okay, look at this. The Hulk Whodunit, Dallas Hellraising, and Loretta Lynn. Wow. Lonnie Anderson on The Incredible Hulk. Definitely would have had to watch that. Loretta Lynn on The Dukes. Definitely would have watched that. Probably would have skipped Dallas. I wasn't an avid Dallas watcher. Here it is. Here it is, folks. Does anybody remember this show? I'm going to zoom in on this thing. Look at this. Ted Danson in a TV movie on ABC called Once Upon a Spy. Christopher Lee is the bad guy, no doubt. Eleanor Parker and Mary Louise Weller as the Bond kind of girls. This really looks like they were trying to take advantage of the whatever momentum something like Moonraker had established. But I've got to track this one down and watch it because this looks like it would just be a treat for me in that it has Ted Danson in it pre-Cheers. And it's my kind of movie. I'll be frank. It's my kind of movie. All right. Let's see. Did anybody recognize that show? Superplex says before 1971, cigarette companies were big TV sponsors. Yeah. Before there were new laws that prohibited a lot of that stuff. Doc Savage says that Once Upon a Spy was probably a pilot for a series. I'm thinking that. Spike Spikerson says, I do like her costume. As do I. Christopher Lee always did play the bad guy, no doubt about it. Eleanor Parker was from The Sound of Music. Oh, wow. Holy cow. And Mark Campbell says, did you know that Midnight Globe announced in 1980 that Chuck Cunningham was going to return? Well, they blew it. I'll say this, yeah, totally agree. It doesn't suck. It just isn't what it once was. It's different. It doesn't have the magic. Lonnie Anderson guest starred on the Hulk. I know. I don't remember that episode. It's something I've got the DVDs and I haven't watched them all, obviously. So something I need to go back and watch. Martian Chronicles, I can't remember the exact date, but I enjoyed that NBC miniseries, and I do feel it was right around this time. Okay. Let's keep moving. Because we've got more shows to talk about. Here. Fridays. Does anybody remember Fridays? I liked Fridays. It was kind of like ABC's equivalent to Saturday Night Live, and it had Michael Richards in it. And in the back of my head, I think that might have been SNL. I was thinking Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but I'm not sure. I don't recall. No, I'm not sure if she was in it. That's Melanie Chartoff there, though. I liked her in that show. And there was a guy that did Sniglets. Is it Rich Hall? Yeah. Rich Hall, I think. He was on that show for a while. Yeah, Fridays was fun. It lasted a couple of seasons. It was a good show. Okay, moving on. Back over here. More Kmart ads. Again, electronics were way more expensive back in the day. I look at that clock radio. Almost $50. And cassette decks, and none of these are stereos, but you're still looking at $35, $40. But that's where I did all my shopping, and I remember at this time, a lot of my friends had boom boxes, and I was more than happy. I would have loved to have had that little cassette deck, the one with the speaker in the front there, the one that's $39.77. Just something like that to take to school and play my music. Let's see. Anyway. Harper Valley PTA, right next to another cigarette ad. We've got Harper Valley PTA. I like this show. Watched a few episodes. It seems like it didn't make it to a season 2, and you're oh whoa, hold on. Yes, Andy Kaufman was on Fridays. But she was good. Barbara Eden. I like Barbara Eden in everything I've ever seen her in. I'm a big fan of her work, particularly I Dream of Judy, but Judy, I've got a Jeannie, but I'm a big fan of Barbara Eden. Okay. Too Close for Comfort made its debut on ABC in 1980, Tuesdays on ABC, and then later on moved to the syndicated market when ABC canceled it. That's how come it had such a long run. Nice ad for catsup. Does anybody still advertise it as catsup anymore? Flamingo Road. I remember that nighttime soap opera well, mainly because of Morgan Fairchild, but I can see that we had Mark Harmon there as well. Christina Rains and Howard Duff. That was a great cast. Okay. Oh, there we go. I think James mentioned earlier on that Enos debuted in the fall of 1980. I liked that show as well. It didn't make it, and Enos later on just returned, or I should say Sonny Schroyer returned to the role of Enos on later seasons of The Dukes of Hazzard. Magnum P.I. debuted. From in the back of my head, I thought that Magnum had been like a late 70s debut, but makes total sense. What a great show. A star-making role for Tom Selleck, who then would spend years trying to really translate that television success into similar success with movies. One of my favorites is Quigley Down Under, but none of them really caught on the way that he'd hoped for, I believe, at least from a box office standpoint. And I think it made it even a more difficult pill to swallow in that he was offered the role of Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark, but couldn't do it because of his commitment to Magnum P.I. It's a Living. Later on became Making a Living, but really a star-making role for Ann Gillian there. I'm looking at the rest of the cast. That's a very Susan Sullivan's there. And then later on, Crystal, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. She was in Wings. Crystal Bernard was on Making a Living. So later seasons. Bosom Buddies, two great actors there. I think I like Tom Hanks an awful lot as an actor, but I'm a big fan of Peter Scolari's work that he's done over the years. He's become more of a character actor than Tom Hanks, obviously, who is just a superstar thanks to movies like Forrest Gump and Big. But yeah, thanks, Spike. I sometimes I have these brain cramps and it takes me forever to think of something. That one fortunately came back quickly. I've done a video on her, but let's see what else we got here. What else have we got here? Look at that. You've got your Maxell VHS advertisement, the first high-grade VHS tape. They were expensive back then. I remember they were so expensive that we would ask for blank VHS tapes for Christmas just so that we'd have things to record on. This was later on in the late 80s, but I think it would cost like $10 for 3 VHS tapes, and that maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to remember this is late 80s, so that's like $20, $25 now. All right, I'm a Big Girl Now. I remember when this show came out, and it was really, everybody was saying this was going to be a big hit, but it did not. It was not a big hit for Danny Thomas or Diana Canova, and as a result, it was canceled before the end of its first season. In the wings, things that were coming up that weren't going to debut in the fall, but were coming up. You can see dynasties there. Denver, not Dallas, is the setting for this large cast serial saga of power and passion in the oil business. Foul Play. Yep, they made a TV version of Foul Play. I remember that with Barry Bostwick and Deborah Raffin. Didn't last very long. What else was there? Nurse with Michael Learned. That one did last a few seasons. Nero Wolfe with William Conrad. That one, It might have lasted more than a season, but it didn't last as long as I would have liked it to. That was a good show. All right, what else do we have here? A big commercial or ad for cigarettes again. Public TV, no one cares. At least I didn't. But let's stop here because they're talking about Cosmos. That was one show I did try to watch. Did try to watch it because, I knew that there was a bit of a budget. And Carl Sagan was, he's going to talk about science fiction-y kind of stuff, albeit real science. Superplex says, interesting. Diane Canova left soap for I'm a Big Girl Now. Yeah, bad decision. Tiffany B, thank you so much for reminding folks to give this video a thumbs up. I would truly appreciate it. It's a great way to show your support for the live stream. I would also, mention that if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'm always appreciative of that. Anybody that wants to take it a step further and really support the channel by joining and becoming a super fan, there's an option for that as well with a few perks that come along with that. All right, Scott Lynn. Hey, good to have you here. Welcome. Yeah, it is amazing how much shows came and went. Shows, it's a hard road to hoe to actually be a successful television show. And most of these shows that we've looked at, a lot of them made it. That was actually a fairly successful TV season if you think about 1980, but a lot of them did not. Yeah, first live action Spider-Man appeared on the Electric Company. Absolutely. One of my favorite Spider-Mans. I've made an entire video about that. You should check it out. Okay, let's keep moving. We're almost done with this issue of TV Guide. Like I said, I'm not all that interested in what was going to be on PBS. We're getting more and more ads here. The body billfold. Yeah, we don't, when you're expecting, your joy needn't be spoiled by hemorrhoids. That's a very powerful ad. Talking about sports, yeah, ESPN was just in its infancy, so sports programming on network television was still very, very big, and where most of the major events would be broadcast. We've got a Sears commercial on a weight bench. Boy, weight benches have come a long way since the 80s. And we've got some spark plug commercials, a Centrum ad, and another Weight Watchers ad. Yeah, Weight Watchers frozen meals. Pizza without the guilt, well, it can't be very good. That's all I have to say. Can't be very good. And then the syndicated market. Let's see what syndicated shows were showing up in 1980. Hour Magazine. I remember that with Gary Collins and Pat Mitchell. I don't remember Don Lane or the Monte Carlo show. Solid Gold, starring singer Dionne Warwick, will have recording artists. So this must have been the first season for Solid Gold. It says, yeah, this is the first weekly series produced under the aegis of Operation Primetime, a 4-year-old consortium of stations that's made its mark by telecasting. So TV, movies, and miniseries. Okay. So yeah, first season of Solid Gold. I really enjoyed that show, and of course enjoyed the Top 10 Countdown featuring the Solid Gold dancers every week. The Tony Tadil show, I remember her. This was her big. She'd separated from Daryl Dragon. They were no longer the captain and Tennille, and this was her shot at making it on TV on her own, and it was not a success. I also remember the revival of You Bet Your Life with Buddy Hackett attempting to fill Groucho Marx his shoes. So that was another show that did not have a lot of longevity. And then at the very bottom there, it says, network veterans like Barney Miller, Barnaby Jones, Wonder Woman, and Battlestar Galactica will be recycled through syndication this fall and winter. I watched all those shows in reruns. Loved all of those shows. They a great way to spend a half hour, an hour, depending on the length of the program. All right, let's see let's just burn through some comments here real quick. I don't even know what's going on here, but we're going to just burn through some comments real fast. Scott Lynn says, I remember In Search Of, great show. Spike Spikerson says In Search Of was a great show. The Josh Singh says, thank you to Superplex. Texas Ray says 3 Men and a Baby was good with Tom Selleck and Ted Danson. Let's make sure We only have one more page here. Let's the Kmart ad on the blow dryer, and then another cigarette commercial. So let's do this while I'm burning through some of these comments. Hey everybody, Danny Staten, laugh out loud, LOL. So many ads, yeah, absolutely. That's part of the reason it was so thick, right? Mike Vivian says, son of a red shirt, I remember In Search of. And Lance Chavin says, In Search of Bigfoot, that episode of In Search of with Bigfoot, that was a scary one. Bigfoot scared me. He just scared me. I was worried that somehow Bigfoot would make its way to Utah and terrorize my family or something. I'm not sure why. Spike Spikerson says, back when ESPN was about sports and MTV was about music, boy, wasn't that a great time? A great time to be alive. Absolutely. Larry Potter says, oh, but PBS introduced Doctor Who to America in the 80s. Yeah, we can thank them for that. Justin says, pizza without guilt. Yeah. Flatbread with spinach. There you go. Mike Vivian says, Larry Potter, yes, MTV actually played music. They did beginning in August of 1980. Georgia, Morgan Freeman was on Electric Company. He sure was. He was Easy Reader. Doc Savage says Charles in Charge was one of the first shows that went into first-run syndication. Yes, with Scott Baio. Tony was a hottie. She was a beautiful lady. Let's see. Let me get back here. The Josh Singh says, Larry Potter, remember the show Wonderworks? I don't remember Wonderworks. Texas Ray says, in 78, I bought a Kodak blank tape on sale for $20. That's crazy. Marco Falzone says, Reagan elected, Lenin assassinated by the end of 80. Weird. Who'd have thought of? Yeah. Crazy times, right? Crazy times. They did a video about the whole Reagan assassination attempt, not really focusing on that, but rather focusing on the fact that they changed Ralph Hinckley's name on The Greatest American Hero, at least temporarily, to Ralph Handley, because they didn't want anyone to think that he may have any association with the person that tried to take President Reagan's life. Mike Vivian says, yeah, Fargo, North Dakota. Yes, a character on the Electric Company, a fun character. Doc Savage says Baywatch started on one of the networks, then it went into syndication. Yeah, it started on NBC. I think it only ran one season. And that first season, along with Hasselhoff, you had Parker Stevenson from the Hardy Boys. Hey, Lance, good to have you here. I think you popped in earlier, too. Great to have you here. Todd says, I was going to ask if we could stay and work the crossword, but then I remembered that they never had it in the fall preview issue. Yeah, not there. They had so much else they had to pack in. Now we can place the voice with a face. There you go. Sorry if any of you are disappointed on that. Larry says, Josh sings, I do remember. Thank you. And Dominic D says, I remember the short-lived You Bet Your Life with Buddy Hackett. You Bet Your Life is coming back this year with Jay Leno as the host, and I bet will be equally short-lived. There will never be anything like the original with Groucho. Braidwood says 8 cigarette commercials. Was there 8? There was a bunch. Danny Staten says, wow, I'm still in search of Bigfoot. Someday, dude, you are going to find Bigfoot. I watched your video yesterday where there was that scream, and you also had that big toe print that you found. It'll happen. It'll happen. I just hope you're prepared. I hope you're prepared for that day when you encounter the mighty Sass. Are you ready? Do you have some pepper spray or something, hopefully? Anyone remember Superboy? Yes, I do. I didn't watch a ton of it. It had 2 actors as Superboy over the course of the 3 or 4 season run. Thrash Pondo, better late than never. We're wrapping things up, but treat to have you pop in and say hi. Who does this button, or what does this button do? You bet. Always a pleasure, my friend. Let's see. Butch says they combined Buck Rogers and Battlestar Galactica. Yes, they did. And they turned some of those Battlestar Galactica 1-hour shows, the ones that were the 2-parters, into these big movies, which was fun to watch. James Mitchell, another channel member, great supporter of the channel. Hate to be that guy, but MTV was 81. I always get that mixed up. In my head, it was 80, but you're right. 81, August though, right? I think I'm right on the month. Doc Savage says Doctor Who was the only thing you could watch on PBS besides Monty Python. I like the Electric Company because they had Spider-Man in it. Even when I was in my mid-teens, I still would watch those just the tail end of Electric Company trying to catch Spider-Man. It had a really catchy theme song. I'm not going to try to sing it here, but it's a catchy theme song. Mike Vivian says, me neither. Wonderworks, drawing a blank. Heed my warning. Welcome. Good to have you here. Oh, yes. Did you know they revived In Search Of on the History Channel, starring that guy who played Spock in the more recent movies? I did not know that myself. I'm going to have to check that out. The Josh Singh, yes, I do remember 321 Contact, and it had a great theme song, too. Anybody remember the Zoom theme song? Anybody remember that show, Zoom? That had a great song. Those, you know what? I've talked about it before. I'll say it again. One of the true tragedies of television is the absence or the bastardization of the theme song into like these 15, 30-second snippets. There were some great theme songs back in the day. Walter Kazoil, great to have you here. Great to have you here. Boy, oh boy, I will tell you this. I'm gonna just kind of zip through some of these. Yeah, people did like to smoke. Some people still like to smoke. Contact is the reason. Oh, this is the lyrics. Yeah. And Reading Rainbow with LeVar Burton. Mike Vivian says, that's as far as I know. I'm going to just keep moving. Cartoon Prince Planet. I don't remember that one. Victor Bourget was on Electric Company. Hey, William, good to have you here. We're wrapping things up. I'm going to wrap things up in the next minute or two. So anybody want to beat me to the punch and drop, feel free. It's going to happen here shortly. I am just whipping through the comments here. Bosom Buddies. Yeah, I love that show. And it had that Billy Joel theme song. Really great theme song. Video Killed the Radio Star was the first video that was played on MTV in August of 1981. The first episode of Battlestar Galactica was edited into a feature film and released overseas. It was also released here in the U.S. as a feature film. It was released in Sensorama. So that was where kind of the seats shook during certain scenes. Loved that. I went and saw it at the movie theater. I have very vivid memories of seeing it at the movie theater because I took one of those handheld video games with me to the theater. My mom said, don't take that handheld game to the movie theater. You're going to lose it. And I said, I won't lose it. And I left it at the movie theater and lost it. Folks, it's probably time to wrap things up. It's nearing lunchtime for good old me. I'm going to have pizza. You know what? I'm easily influenced. There was that TV guide ad for Weight Watchers pizza. I'm not going to have Weight Watchers pizza. I'm going to have real pizza. I'm easily influenced, and so I'm going to go fire up some pizza and enjoy that for lunch. I want to thank everybody who joined me today for this surprise live stream. There still will be a live stream on Wednesday. We're going to talk about the A-Team. I might have guests on. It's going to be a whole more. There'll be some things some surprises along the way. We might even do a little A-Team trivia. So join me on Wednesday evening. But thank you for joining me Saturday morning, hanging out with me, just listening to me jabber as we go through a TV guide. That's been a lot of fun for me. And, I will say it again because it's a hobby, but it's also a hobby I want to see be successful. If you enjoyed the live stream, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing to the channel. It's free. And if you're really willing to go the extra mile, consider joining the channel as a super fan and support it that way. Truly appreciated. Everybody have a great Saturday. Thank you so much for talking about the good stuff with me. And now we're going to have this awkward 2 to 3 seconds while I click on the button and end it. So there we go. Have a great day, everyone.